Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Frustration Nation, and I have the usual bunch today. So, what are we going to talk about?
Hello, I'm Jet. I'm one third of the usual bunch.
Uh huh.
Hi, my name is Drake.
Have we ever discussed who is the softest among us? Like the three of us are very soft,
Okay.
but among the three of us, one of us has to be the softest.
You're the loudest, Jet.
As in like soft boy energy.
Oh, soft boy energy. No, I think this podcast is very soft in general.
Yeah.
I think the impression that Drake's voice gives is that he's very soft, but I can assure you he can be very mean in person. I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
You're very nice. You're very nice.
Kim, I want to
Oh,
talk to you
yeah.
after this.
He's
Just
not
like,
gonna be here next week or ever
Jet,
again.
leave the room. I need to settle this between Kim and I.
Kim, I'm outside your house. Open the fucking door. Okay.
No, stay in your house. Social distance.
Yeah. So who's the softest? Who do you think?
It could be me.
Wait, what is the
What?
definition of soft here? Like the volume or
Emotionally?
like personality?
Yeah, emotionally soft boy, like like a small animal that gets easily stepped on and things.
You.
Yeah. Even though I'm physically the largest of the three of us.
Yeah, you're the only tall one here.
Yeah, I'm a big soft boy.
Yes. I
Okay,
am...
so folks, do we have the frustration for you today? We do. We have so much frustration.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you guys, where does the chicken come from?
The chicken comes from, this is the trap. The chicken comes from a man chicken and a lady chicken, and then they have an
chicken?
egg.
A chicken comes from God, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
No, the chicken comes from limestone because the chickens need limestone so that they can form the egg. So anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, this is a reference to the latest little clip that Chan Chun Sing has blessed us with.
Oh dear gosh.
He-
What is Chan Chun Sing's, like, what is he the minister of? Trade, right?
Yeah, trade.
Trade and industry.
Yeah. He's
So this is his ballpark. This is like his wheelhouse.
yeah, he's taught he kind of I think back in like February or something, there was like this clip of him that leaked where he was at some trade meeting.
Oh, the Xia Sui.
The Xia
clip.
Sui one,
Yeah,
that
the
was
Singapore
really,
Chinese Chamber of Commerce.
That was quite funny. Actually, like
That clip has not aged well because he talked about how the politicians in Hong Kong wearing masks contribute to paranoia. Mm-hmm. And now, if we don't wear masks, we get fined.
yeah, that clip aged so badly. It aged like milk. Like
And it's February, which is not ages ago, but in COVID time, February is like 1,000,000 years ago.
that was last season.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's June.
Yeah,
It is true,
we've been stuck
yeah.
inside for a few months. now, I
Circuit
think.
breaker is over, and we're now into phase 1.
Of-
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Phase 1 of what? Of what? You didn't.
The MCU. Phase 1 of
Yeah.
the end.
At
Yeah.
the end of phase 3, Thanos comes. We are following MCU rules.
So, like at the start of the pandemic, I actually found that speech that he gave to Chinese commerce. I thought it was quite charming. Like,
Same.
I think a lot of people started liking him after he gave that speech. Like, not exactly like, oh, I have faith, I have faith in this person, but more of like, like a minister who finally had some sort of like personality. He was entertaining.
It was
to
a very
listen to.
man of the people kind of moment.
Yeah. There's like
And they
something
were
really
like-
charismatic about a minister with Ah Beng tonalities,
He's
you
a
know.
Bing, but he's our Bing.
He's
right?
our Beng, yeah.
He's our Bing.
And then so recently he had like a little clip. I think he sent it into Mothership where he was talking about like how we couldn't say that Singapore has to be completely self-sufficient.
self-sufficient because you
Yeah.
have no natural resources.
Yeah, we can't go down that route realistically, which is, I guess, like, I understand that, but the stuff that he said was just really funny. Like, we can't produce any cotton for masks because we don't have any sheep on Jurong Island.
So this became an epic meme.
Yeah, an epic meme for the lulz
Yeah,
that
the thing is,
all the
all right,
boomers have been sharing.
in Singapore, we are not used to dramatic political faux pas on the scale of what Trump does every day. Where our ministers are not going to talk about shooting up bleach. So once something like this happens, everyone cottons onto it because we are so deprived of
Cotton's on.
cottons on. Because we're so deprived of our politicians screwing up and making like the only other major one that I can really think of is the Josephine Teo. You don't need a large space to have sex. And that was a few years ago.
I forgot she did that.
I forgot that would be a. I mean, I've always thought that would be a fantastic premise for a game show. You have Gurmit Singh kind of host there, so they're competing couples,
I
and then
think
they have sex in
I-
increasingly smaller spaces.
I
Netflix,
don't think,
come on.
I think this is more for like that other website that we can't access.
No.
because
IMDA will fund it. It will be on MeWatch.
encouraging
to me watch?
encouraging the population, population
Yes.
growth.
Isn't that a great idea? The we don't need a very small space to have sex.
That's
As
the
long as
entire
gay
title.
couples can take part.
Sorry.
Oh.
As long as
no.
gay couples can take part, I'm
I
down.
don't think so.
3778 precludes the participation of gay couples. But lesbian couples can because 3778 only applies to men.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can have
So, you
some
know-
intense scissoring in very small spaces.
I don't think that's gonna physically work.
It won't, yeah. I hate that I just said all of this out loud. This is now
On public, this is forever
in
gonna be on
public,
the
yeah.
internet, by the way.
Hello, person who is reviewing me for whatever job I'm applying for in the future.
I can just like not include you in credits the next time we do this. Like, we can just never mention that you're here. You can just talk.
Me, uncredited, the horror. I already don't get paid.
It's actually Kim doing a voice. So
Yeah, I'm doing an
Yeah.
impression.
Yeah, I recall in horror at what a Jet impression might constitute. Just a lot of laughing at your own jokes, I guess, is the basis of it.
Yes, and a lot of breaking out into a musical.
Yes, random breaking up the musicals. Yeah, so cotton comes from sheep.
That's
Ah.
like, yeah, like as soon as one of them says something a little bit funky, right, everyone latches onto it, and I think it's because
Yes.
the rest of them are so scary. Or like
Exactly,
so,
the rest
they're
of
so,
them-
like math teachers.
They have
have
the
math teacher.
personality scholared out of them.
Yeah. Or they're just awkward in front of camera. They're not like politicians in other countries who are supposed to sort
Be
of
charismatic.
charming in front of people. They're more of like I studied accounts for very, very long and I'm very good at planning
Yeah,
things, so
that's
I
all
have
of
become
them.
a minister.
And the thing is, in order to succeed in the scheme of things in Singapore, but especially in politics, you have to just fit that mold and fit that mold exactly. And so nothing really changes because nothing's supposed to.
Yeah.
And anyone who has a personality who might change something is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore,
mean-
we can't let anyone with that propensity near a position of power. And that's why it's so exciting when a minister says something like cotton comes from sheep. And this is how deprived we are. Because this is
Yeah.
not a country where Joe Exotic can run for president.
Yeah. I mean, what,
But, you know, Stephen
Jonathan
Lim-
Wam stood outside a police station with like a sign with a, I don't know if I mentioned this before,
It's a
with
happy
sign
face
with a
drawn
happy
on a
face,
piece of cardboard.
and he's wearing a mask and he's like smiling, and then he gets
Poor Jolovan.
he gets sent like a police
To Lim
warning.
Kopi. Yeah, he has to go and get a police interview.
Why? What is he even protesting?
I think it's
Happiness.
Just like it's the idea of this is a known troublemaker, so anything that they do has to be making trouble.
It's a happy face on the sign. Like,
Oh no, there's something there's something insidious about that happy face. If you zoom in close enough to the happy face, it is made of very, very, very small
Yeah, it
anti-government.
yeah, it very, very tiny. The smile, right, is formed by the words abolish the death penalty.
Yeah, in
Oh.
like micron pen.
Yeah, it's like really tiny. You can't see it unless you really go in and zoom.
Yeah, big brain galaxy time.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
like, yeah, Jonathan Wam's gotten a lot of crap over the years for very innocuous things. Like, he did a candlelight vigil for this guy who was sentenced to death because of weed, I think. Like, he
Yes,
brought too
yes,
much
yeah.
weed into Singapore, so he did a little vigil outside of where they do the executions, and
The
he-
prison,
yeah,
Changi Prison.
yeah, he kind of got into a bit of trouble because of that. I mean, like,
So there's. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
we can't even protest climate change, which is such an undeniable thing. We can't even do that. Like, we can't even protest climate change online. Like, we can't even hold a sign up online, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's very much a case of they want to make sure that there are no sparks at all. Like, how do you make sure there's zero chance of fire? You just take away everybody's matches. And people are like, but I need matches to light a campfire, or I need matches to cook. Yeah, no matches. So that's like the safest way, I think, to prevent. That's the mindset.
Like, make it so hostile to any form of dissent, even in the
Yeah, that
tiniest
there's-
bit, that
there's
they
no
won't even
point,
think
yeah.
about it, especially for
That's
bigger
right.
issues.
And unfortunately, I think that's how we're conditioned. And I think in Singapore as a whole, not just in terms of politics, but you just have to keep your head down and go about your day and work hard and obey the rules, and that's how you succeed.
This
And-
really sounds like a dystopian society.
Oh, but we're not allowed to say that. So
Yeah.
for legal reasons, I'm not saying Singapore is a dystopian society.
There
Put
is
a
no
pin
war
in
in
that.
Ba Sing Se.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Put
Yeah.
a pin in that. I might go back to that later.
Very
Um,
good. Yeah, let's put a pin in that.
So-
Long story short, Chan Chun Sing thinks that cotton comes from sheep.
Yeah, no,
Very good.
he was very sleep
That was the
deprived. I saw
point.
his Facebook post. Let's forgive
Yes,
him.
he was very sleep deprived.
So, like one of I think our mutuals, he said something like, how much would it take to push Singaporeans into a state of civil unrest? And then someone else responded with like, close McDonald's down for another few months.
The PMD thing was the closest we got to that, right?
Yeah, that was actually
Was it
quite
close?
interesting to see. Like, there was all these people who would turn up to
Yeah, that's like an organized.
the meetings, and then
dissent.
they'll tell the guy like, hey,
Oh,
you've
right.
taken away our livelihood, we really need
Yeah.
this and everything. And then at that time I was like kind of irritated because there was like a bunch of people coming out of the woodworks being like, excuse me, you can't rely on this PMD forever. You should go upgrade yourself. You should go
you
learn
should go
coding.
upskill. Yeah.
You should upskill and learn coding or something.
I think we mentioned this in the very first test episode that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
think it was
mentioned
like
this
the
before.
woke salary man comic that I got really irritated at. I usually
Yeah.
quite like his stuff. But
And during the time, you didn't want to say his name, but now we're not scared of you, woke salary man.
yeah, because I have been awarded a top fan badge of that.
Oh my God.
You wielded
Yeah,
you
so
wield the top fan badge as a
so I
cudgel
do think
against the
a
woke
lot of his
salary man.
advice is pretty useful, and the comics are quite cute. But that was one comic that I just like don't agree with on like the level of principles and everything. Like, I
And
don't know.
honestly, like the message of upskilling and reskilling at its base, it's not a bad message. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not a bad thing on its own. And especially now, as we are seeing a lot of industries move online and a lot of things being phased out, I think there is a degree of necessity to that. But in that context, and having that as like the hand wave, you wave your hand and just pull the upskill reskill card. and not listen to someone's story. I think that's where it becomes a problem. So this is something which happens with a lot of issues in Singapore, is that the underlying thing that is being suggested or being pushed is not a bad thing most of the time on its own. But it's just within the context, it can come off as very, very unsympathetic.
Or like condescending.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
when these people are taking the time off to upskill, they have to have some form of income coming from somewhere. You can't just. I don't think a lot of people can just afford to drop everything all at once, go back to school. You know?
Yeah, most adults would be studying and doing like adult learning courses while they are also doing part-time jobs.
So it's not like oh
Mutually exclusive, yeah.
yeah, it's not like just because this person needs to rely on their PMD for work, it doesn't mean that they won't try to like upskill or have a different job or anything. It's not like oh, this person is relying too much on one form of labor.
Also, if everyone upskills, then who is going to deliver your food?
Exactly, you are going
Yeah,
to throw
yeah.
a fit.
Yeah,
I've
like,
seen you
don't-
guys on Complain Singapore.
Don't
And-
shit on the people who brings you the service that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard work. It's very hard work.
It's just yeah, it's not a.
Yeah,
I haven't
ultimately,
ordered anything from Grab so far in quite a while, actually.
I just feel like a lot of this comes from a place of an inherent, like implicit or subconscious I'm better than you. So I'm prescribing instructions to you, and if you follow them, all will go right for you in your life. Because I know what's best for you.
And often these people are actually coming from completely different backgrounds.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it's not fair to judge people just based on like your perception of this
We'll
job.
put a
or
pin
that
in that
income.
as well, about judging people from different backgrounds based on your perception.
Yeah.
A lot of pins today.
A lot of
It-
pins today.
We're
It's a real
Pinterest.
pinny day. We're pinheads. All of us are Cenobites.
Okay.
Okay. So the next point on this list is I labeled it Harvey Fight 20.
Harvey fight! Harvey fight!
You're gonna get cancelled, Jen.
I am gonna get cancelled.
So Samantha
No, please
Katie
don't cancel
James.
me. I've barely begun.
Samantha Katie James put out this Instagram.
Miss Universe Malaysia.
Miss Universe 2017 Malaysia, right? She
yeah.
put out this this absolutely just chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
Instagram story. It was something like, to the black people,
Dear black people.
relax. Take it as a challenge. Makes you stronger. You chose to be born as a colored person in America for
Oh,
a
you
reason.
chose to be born is my favorite part of the whole thing.
To learn a certain lesson. Accept it as it is. Till now, hunger and poverty still exists. It is what it is. It's inevitable. Best you can do is remain calm, protect heart, don't allow it to crumble. That's your responsibility. Of course, this is to the ones who understand this level and state of
There's so
These are-
many levels.
These are to the people who watch Rick and Morty.
not for everyone. Everyone grows at a different rate. I'm pretty sure you
Only
never
for
got
black
it
people who
beyond
watch Rick and
asshole.
Morty.
I, to be honest, really thought that this was a joke.
Yeah. That was your response in our group chat. Drake was like, "Is this a joke?" And I can't blame you at all
Because
It's not even a very funny joke.
yeah, I think like for me, if I were to break it down, a lot of these statements from celebrities, they tend to be a little bit tone deaf, but ultimately there you can find the good intention underneath it, and
Yeah.
at the very least they're bringing attention to the movement and to the struggle, even if
Usually-
they aren't doing it in the best way.
Right.
Yeah,
Usually
and-
it's like, I don't see color, some nonsense like that, right?
Yeah, it's more like it's more pablum, but this is so much more harmful than pablum.
This post has the whole all lives matter hashtag all over it, it has the like the all lives matter vibe, you know, and
I
the
think it's worse than that. You
like
chose to be
because
born
it's
as a
part of it.
colored person in America for a reason, to
Yeah,
learn a
and
certain
outright
lesson.
racism.
So it's
and
like God
and
God has
also
punished you by making you black, is what
Yeah.
she's saying.
Exactly.
Which
This
is
is
and
I can't
modernism.
also
believe I'm reading that.
and also if you don't understand this, it means you're just not at my level of
Of enlightenment, yeah.
yeah, it's the whole thing
It's so
has
bizarre.
so
It's so weird. And the thing is like where is this coming from? Like what happened in your past? What interactions have you had that
okay,
have led
is
you
she
to think this?
but is she serious though? Is she
Yeah.
doing this as
She is because she defended
She-
it, right? She
she
defended it
truly
by
there was
saying
a
that people
believes-
whole-
have bullied her or something.
There was a whole album, like a Facebook album dedicated to her. There's a whole Facebook album dedicated to like her defending herself from racist posts.
okay? Cause like you know that there are a lot of Chinese Singaporeans right now
Mm-hmm.
who are posting on Instagram stories being all like, oh this like trying to say controversial shit. Like,
Like
just to stir shit, saying stuff like let me try to remember or
About Samantha,
no about Black Lives Matter.
about BLM, yeah.
Just like basically Singaporeans are doing this, like are speaking out about BLM because we have nothing to do and this is just a masturbatory kind of a thing. Like,
Ah,
yeah,
Oh yeah. It's like kind of they're attacking people for virtue signaling.
yeah, and it's just kind of like they don't they don't I don't think they really think this, that they might just be trying to
They're
stir
trying to
shit.
like ride the bandwagon.
yeah, they wanna
Like-
get
Yeah, they want to
edgy
seem like
sauce.
they are better people for not speaking out about BLM, that kind of shit.
So they're saying I'm cooler than you because I'm not trying to get attention by talking about this hot button issue, which the only reason you're talking about it is for the attention. You don't actually care.
Yeah,
Therefore,
so
I'm better than you, but because I don't care, but for a different reason.
yeah, so like I thought maybe Samantha was trying to do that as well,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess
That-
she really
yeah.
truly believes what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, then I think she needs help. I don't wanna flame her anymore.
But I guess the thing is, like, a lot of people are countering this by attacking her and by making personal attacks against her that are racist and in some cases that are like transphobic, like saying
Oh.
that she looks like a trans man or something.
Oh
like that.
Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
Right? Yeah, and she, I think that's where it becomes a bit complicated because of course what she said is wrong, but then it doesn't make you right for insulting her
That's
personally rather than
don't use those
engaging
as
the-
insults, right?
yeah, rather than engaging the ideas. And the thing is, like, I'm very sure that her race does factor into it, that her experience as a mixed person in Malaysia does factor into it, but then her personal experiences do not give her a free pass to say things like this.
Yeah,
And
but
both things can be true.
yeah. But
I mean,
it's
yeah,
so
we can definitely
outrageous.
call her out, but there's a line that you don't cross, like stuff like her looks or her gender, her race.
I mean,
Oh.
once you started using those insults, you've lost, right?
Yeah,
For
you've
sure.
lost
exactly.
the, you've
you-
lost
thing
the
is, like,
plot. This is not
why
about
is
that
it-
at all.
Why is it important to challenge this? Why is it important to talk about this? Because she has a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure as Miss Universe, she has brand deals and she has sponsorships and she does modeling or acting gigs. And so she is someone of a degree of prominence. And there was a response to her by someone who have arguably a higher degree of international prominence. Hence why you labeled this section Halfie Fight, which we absolve ourselves of any of the implications of that.
Is that how it works? We just absolve
So,
ourselves.
could you tell us who this person is and what happened?
Yeah, he is our Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe reboot, Henry Golding. So Henry Golding rose to international prominence as the male lead of Crazy Rich Asians, the 2018 romantic comedy movie that was set in Singapore and had a partially Singaporean cast. So before that, he was mainly known as a travel host. and he did a lot of documentaries and travelogue programs, and he is notably half Iban from Sarawak and half English, half British.
Gang.
Yes. So you have that in common with Henry Golding,
Yes.
who is like the world ambassador of Iban culture.
No,
he
he's
had
not. He's not, but okay, go on.
And he found
I'm sorry, I was saying it facetiously. No, I'm getting carried away. But yeah, he did respond to her. Do you have his response pulled up?
No, I do not.
Okay, let
I
me
did
get
not
it,
find
and
it.
I'll read it. Henry Golding,
Henry
Samantha
Golding.
Katie James.
So
Okay.
technically I should be as hot, but I'm not. I'm like
No,
the
you
other half
are.
might be Chinese or something. I'm not sure either.
Okay, so here's what he said. There are some statements made by a former Miss Universe Malaysia I want to address. You have zero idea what black people have to go through on a day-to-day basis. The majority of us will never truly be able to understand what the black community goes through every single day. But one thing for sure you can do is lend a voice to teach people and educate them on opening their eyes to what is under the veil. It is hundreds of years of oppression and injustice kept in place by money and power from people such as yourself, ignorant and selfish people. So yeah, that's his statement, and then
That's-
like he just like tagged her in it as well.
Okay, so
Yeah, so you
Is
will
everyone
notice
there?
that our background of this episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, is a picture of the two of them that was
Are we
used
gonna-
as... Are we
we
actually
really
going to do
gonna-
that?
I'm not sure. I don't know which one's gonna be a better background, Chan Chun Sing or these
Do
two.
the sheep or these two? Yeah.
Why
But
Yeah.
not all of them? Why not all three of them?
this is a peek
The
behind
ultimate
curtain.
clickbait,
Yeah, the
and then like we
ultimate clickbait.
deep fry it, and then like
Yes.
you know in the middle you have like one of our faces like doing that shocked
The reaction,
PewDiePie,
Yeah.
that
yeah.
commentary channel face, that PewDiePie expression.
Whenever
Like,
he clips his face out and puts it in the thumbnail, and then it looks
Yeah.
like he was personally involved in these things, but actually he's not. He's just commenting.
yeah,
about them.
exactly. I was personally involved in this fight between Henry Golding
And
and Samantha
Samantha
Katie
Katie
James,
Yeah.
and Chan Chun Sing and the sheep.
Yes, that's right.
I knew I was there. I
Smart
was there
money
for
is
all of
on the sheep. Smart money is on the sheep.
it. Yeah.
I'll look for a picture of a sheep later.
Yes, good.
I love that this is what our lives have become. We are in the look for a picture of a sheep later stage of lockdown. But yeah, the thing about this is like, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people who could say that Henry Golding himself is privileged and they could yell at him. And actually, he was at the center of kind of a controversy when he was cast in Crazy Rich Asians because people were saying by being half white, he's too white to play a Chinese guy. And the other half of him is not even Chinese, etc., etc. And like the controversy about that movie came in waves and waves. Like there was one stage where people were upset about him, and then there's another stage where people were upset about there not being minorities, minority races. Other than like, there's nobody in the movie really other who is not Chinese except for this scene with the two Sikh guards where they kind of played for comic relief. And so that was Crazy Rich Asians is a thing that I can talk about for a very long time.
I never watched it.
Yeah,
I
understand.
never watched
Yeah.
it, but-
I had
but
friends
I was
who
one
told
of
me,
the
like, "Jed, I just
extras."
don't
I
feel
thought
like
you
watching
were
it."
a journalist or something in Crazy Rich Asians.
Me?
Yeah, I was one of the extras.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was in the airport and one of the journalists.
Drake, I didn't know this.
within
That's
the
so
scene.
cool.
Yeah, I told Ronnie Cheng that I loved him.
I love Ronnie Cheng too. Yeah, I told him that I loved him as well. I told him that like his video made me cry. The one where he went to Chinatown and he did like a rebuttal to the Jesse Waters piece. Yeah, so I was totally being a simp for Ronnie Cheng on the set of Crazy Rich Asians. But yeah, I visited the set, so I wasn't paid for it,
Oh.
unlike Drake.
I was paid very little.
Yeah, I understand. That's the life of an extra. But yeah, it was fun
Yeah.
because we went there on one of the last nights that they were shooting in Singapore, and we did get to interview most of them. So we did sit down and interview Henry Golding, and I did ask him that question, the thing about people reacting to him by not being all Chinese, and he was saying like, what kind of Asian purity test do I have to pass? I am from Sarawak. I am as Asian as you get, you know, and then afterwards, like, Constance Wu was also not happy about the backlash and so on. But yeah, that's why it's kind of interesting that he responded, because he is also a Malaysian Harvey like Samantha Katie James is. But at the same time, I think that was a good response. Like, he was legit angry at her, but he also made very clear points. And
Yeah.
the most important thing about this really is that line about the hundreds of years of oppression. Like, that's
Yeah.
something that so many people are just missing. Like, they're only looking at this one moment, or trying to draw like very superficial parallels to the sanitized version of the civil rights movement, that one picture of Martin Luther King that everyone uses, like, oh, why can't you peaceful protest like this?
Yeah, he got shot.
He got shot.
I think people don't remember he got shot.
Conveniently leaving out that
He got shot by the same people who are saying, "Can you be peaceful?" And then and then after he got shot, there was a riot,
yeah.
which led to reform.
And this is the
That's-
part that so
So-
many people just like leave out.
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's Sorry, go ahead, but
There's just horrifying pictures from that era and even later of
Yeah.
people getting just like black people getting absolutely just brutalized by the police, or like the white people in their neighborhood, and it's quite heartbreaking. A lot of these young men, they were really young when all this violence happened to them, and people forget that this was their reality for decades and decades, like hundreds of years.
there's
Right.
never
And
been a
it's not
time
like-
where it was quote unquote good. Like, there were
Yeah.
times when it was better, or when it was superficially perceived to be better, but things have never been good for
Yeah.
for black people in America, which is something that certain people get very, very prickly about. They get very upset if you even make that suggestion, because it seems to implicate them in some way.
Yeah.
And like it's not like they haven't tried to do it peacefully. They haven't tried to have a peaceful revolution before. Like the kneeling didn't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They got a backlash for that. Like every other stuff they did, they got a backlash for that. So what else do you expect to happen when you make peaceful revolution so impossible? I mean, obviously violence is gonna come out,
Yeah.
and it's I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
The
and-
Black
and-
Lives Matter came.
And I feel like
When-
the problem is that so many people think that violence is the first choice. But violence is being used against the protesters. There are military police, riot police that are firing tear gas and rubber bullets at nurses.
Yeah, there's numerous reports of, like, at first, sort of like the police kneeling down with the protesters.
In solidarity,
And then-
yeah.
Yeah,
and then right
like,
after firing tear gas.
yeah, like 10 minutes later, they get up and they start blasting them with tear gas. It's quite terrifying. And
Ah, dear
I
Lord,
woke
yeah.
up. I woke up and I went out and I watched this speech that Trump made, and he was saying stuff like, "I'm gonna bring the National Guard in, and if the cities don't want to cooperate, I'm gonna get the military in
On
to
American soil, yeah.
I'm gonna get the military in to sort it out."
Like, this
What
is
is
Enacting
that?
martial law on
yeah,
himself.
and this
Yeah.
is like unequivocally strongman talk. Like, it isn't even a stretch to call him a strongman or an authoritarian, because this is word for word the kind of language that they use. And especially troubling to me was the speech that, like, the words he used in his call with the governors, where he was kind of berating them for being weak, and he was like, "You're letting the rioters walk all over you. You have to dominate them.
Oh yeah.
You have to
You need
show
to-
force. You have to throw people into jail for 10 years." So, like, his reaction to protests about police brutality is more police brutality, all the police brutality.
And Joe Biden isn't much better.
Oh no, Uncle
He was
Joe,
like-
what
he
have you
said
done
Oh, was the
now?
whole shooting
He-
rubber
yeah,
bullets?
shoot them in
Shooting them in
the
the
shoot them in
knee.
the leg
Shooting them
instead
in the
of
knee
in the
with real
face.
bullets.
He shot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, hey. Well done,
It's-
Drake. No, I mean, like, well, the thing that I have to clarify is when we are laughing and we are making jokes and stuff, we are not trying to make light of this situation. But I think it's like a lot of the peripheral stuff and the reactions to it are so ridiculous that you can't help but laugh at them. So
Yeah.
we're not trying to minimize the suffering and the struggle and the very legitimate fight that people are fighting. But there are things that happen, like Jake Paul involves himself in the riots that you just can't help but laugh at because it's so absurd.
It's so absurd, but it makes so much sense in the context of Jake Paul.
Yeah, that
I mean, his brother took advantage of a dead body. He took advantage of a riot. So it's kind of like a family thing.
it
I
is
suppose.
a
Yeah,
family thing. And
runs
their
in the
dad,
family.
Their dad like filmed the video defending them. He was like standing around in his backyard and like, yo, it's Greg Paul. And his dad is
Oh my
trying
God.
to beat them,
Who
which is
gives a
very
fuck?
depressing.
Oh, but Greg Paul is like another very interesting character. Like,
Yes.
I know, like he kissed his son's girlfriends or something.
There
or
was a video they
something.
did.
Huh?
There was a video they did
Yeah,
where
like
they
they used to do
blindfolded-
these girlfriend challenges, and then the challenge was that his dad kisses his.
Oh,
What
there's,
bullshit is this?
there's so much
What?
that's wrong. Like if you do
It's
it,
like
deep
no,
dive into
with
yeah.
this kind of father, how could you not go into a forest and take advantage of a dead body? I mean,
Oh,
like
dear Lord,
it's just
yeah.
a natural progression of things, right?
So yeah,
Oh my God.
that's Henry Golding versus Samantha Katie James on this.
And somehow we ended up with the Paul brothers.
Yeah. Well, we ended up with the Paul brothers because of the riots and the thing, and da 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 da. So I'm trying to defend the tangent.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of, okay, very briefly, speaking of YouTubers, I wrote down here Ryan and Sylvia got divorced.
Yeah,
True
yeah.
love doesn't exist.
Right.
So,
Okay, so I saw a little bit of their video, but not all of it. But I think I can talk
Yeah.
about the part of the video that I saw.
Who are these people?
So
they're
Drake,
the
have
Night
you-
Owl cinematics.
Have you heard of them? Have you heard of Night Owl Cinematics?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is the couple that founded that channel or that organization. Yeah. So
Okay.
what happens is they have been married for 10 years, and they met each other very young, and then they went into the content creation or the YouTuber kind of industry together.
Content
Content
creation.
creation. These are very dark words. Yeah, but Night Owl Cinematics is basically one of the bigger or more recognizable ones in Singapore. At one point, I remember they made this turn off your phones thing for the cinema for Golden Village, and every time before I watched the movie, I had to sit through that, and that wasn't fun. Thanks, guys. But yeah, what they were saying is that it was very much the studio. It was them doing this line of work that came between them, and that eventually led to the divorce. And they said that they couldn't narrow it down to one thing, but if they had to narrow it down to one thing, it was that there was no boundary between their personal and professional lives. And in this
Okay.
video, where it's both of them with their dog to camera explaining why they got divorced, which is really, really sad. But at the same time, I think relatively tastefully done and quite honest. And I'm saying this as someone who isn't a fan of the stuff that Night Owl Cinematics normally does. But to me, it was a little bit of a wake up call, because I do very much romanticize creative partnerships between significant others, between people who are also in a romantic relationship. Like, I'm always holding up Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas on a pedestal, or Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be so great if the husband is the director and then the wife is the producer, or the husband and wife are co-screenwriters, that kind of thing. And I always
Yeah.
find that, I think as someone who is a creative person,
No, like Pandemonium is run by Adrian Pang and
and
his
Tracy
wife.
Pang, exactly,
Yeah, Tracy Pang.
So this was the case where Sylvia was saying that there was the one anecdote that she related is there was a time when they had an argument at home, and they had to rush to a location to shoot. So they were driving in a car, and then she turned to him and it was like, we must have this argument later because now I need to memorize the script. And then when we arrive at the location, we have 1 hour at the location and we have to shoot. So I cannot have this argument now. And she said that basically everything became that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and like it makes so much sense, and it's so awful. And the thing is, and unfortunately, I feel like the Singapore YouTube ecosystem is just so corporate, and everything that any big channel does, that them or SGAG or Jianhao or anything like that, it's all corporate. Like, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as sponsorships or sponsored content by YouTubers in other countries, but I just feel that it is so much more prevalent in Singapore, and it's so
Yeah.
naked in a way.
Like, even if you think about so-called more down to earth channels, like I would count maybe like Pretty Please, Sushi, and YOLO,
Yeah.
they're still really sort of like tame and polished. Maybe not pretty, but you know what I mean, right? Like, I think she's kind of like calmed down in recent years. I think especially after all the sort of
Controversy.
all the controversy she's
her and
got stuck
Subhash,
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's had to like calm down, and she also does
And
collaborations
sand down
with
the
quite.
images. Yeah, and I mean, her face is still there. When I go to the ATM in my MRT station, her face is still on the ATM.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the feeling. The feeling is that everything, there's no room for mistakes. There's no room to mess around and experiment and figure things out. You have to come out of the womb fully formed. And I think that is the
Yeah.
expectation that is placed upon content creators that makes things very, very stressful, because when everything is driven by I am doing XYZ for a client, then there's no room for your own creativity and your own passion, and something that started out as something you wanted to use as your own platform, as you have funny ideas that you want to put out there, eventually to pay the bills, and the more famous you get, the more deals you get, it becomes this morphs into this completely other thing that it can be hard to feel the love for. So I don't think this is what they said in the video, and it could be just me reading into it, but I feel like this must have factored into it, the sense
Yeah.
that they had become hired hands more or less, and that everyone who is a YouTuber of any amount of success, or like, this is the nature of influencers, right? It's like your whole life is you're working with brands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe you have good ideas, but those good ideas do not fit the agenda of the brand.
Like, but in Singapore, your brand is quite limited. Also, you cannot go too far here, or too far there.
Yeah, you cannot
And this
push the
was, and like, I think, okay, so like, I remember I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and the scene in, let's say, America is very different from the UK. So
boundary. Yeah,
but there are like different categories of them, and when I think about some of the best videos that I've seen from across the board, so one of them was Cody Ko and Noel Miller reading Ajit Pai's tweets and making fun of him.
right. Yeah, so
Like,
Ajit
if
Pai
you
was
did
the
that
FCC
here-
commissioner, and he was the guy behind like the whole net neutrality fight, and he is basically really, really not a good person. Ajit Pai is.
But if you did that in Singapore, finished, right?
Yeah.
Another guy I watched, Stephen Tries, he's one of the Villainese friends. He made an entire video joking about pedophiles, and then he titled it the N-word, because in the UK they have
It's-
like a nickname for a nonce, so he
I
titled it
see.
the N-word.
So it was like a misdirect. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the joke is that he's a nonce because gingers are nonces or something like that. It's quite crude and quite ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's a
and-
lot looser in the UK. Like, kids are swearing up and down in the UK on TV. It was very
Yeah.
funny because I remember looking up this reality TV show that Will Poulter came from. So it was like kind of like an X Factor or Britain's Got Talent thing, but specifically for comedians and specifically for kids trying to be comedians. So the guy who won it is Will Poulter, the guy who got skinned alive in Midsommar. And
Yeah.
so you watch that, and he can't be more than 11 or 12 years old, and it's just everyone is swearing, and it's kind of great because like kid swearing is inherently funny, and I think that's something that you will not find on American TV that you will find on British TV. So watching that like was a bit of a shock. I was like, I am not used to this much children swearing being this encouraged.
And then there was that one kid at National Day parade. The equivalent of that is this kid sticking up the middle finger at the camera, right?
So
Oh,
after,
that was such a big deal.
right,
Yeah,
yes,
he was
I-
a national hero. Like, I think a lot of people like egged him on for
Yeah.
it. They were like, yes,
This
stick
is-
it to the man. But then he got scolded really badly.
He
probably.
did get scolded really badly. Like, and I remember posting on my Twitter, which nobody sees. Right after that, I posted a picture of Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games series holding the three finger salute, and then the caption that I said was tribute has been given disciplinary action for inappropriate gesture.
You see, like, whenever I see people pulling this kind of shit, like just going out to swear on national television or like Sharon Liu, right? I get so excited, and then my excitement is quashed immediately.
Right, because the authorities are playing whack-a-mole with this stuff. And on the one hand, like, I kind of get the argument that we need to make sure everything is as okay and as mellow as everything as possible. But then, you know, it just means that there's no space for anything interesting. And I'm not saying like you have to break the law to be interesting. I mean, this was another thing, right? The thing of Sticker Lady with the artist, the street artist who like had just like a disproportionate amount of negative attention. And I don't, what happened to her? Was she fined or did she go to jail or something?
What happened?
Do you remember
to
what
her?
happened to Sticker Lady?
She was in court.
Right? Yeah.
I remember that, but I'm not sure she went to jail for stickers.
Samantha Lowe, we should refer to her by the name that she chooses to be referred to. But yeah, this was in 2012. Let's see what happened. Come Wikipedia.
I think
she was arrested.
I think that's why
Charged
our
for
humor
mischief
is not
and-
going to progress from Tan Tian Hao.
No, yeah, because Tan Jin Hao, I mean, like we were talking about this, Berlin and I were talking about this. She foisted some of his videos on me and forced me to watch them live. And
Oh, I'm so glad I wasn't a part of it.
Drake, and then after that we watched like a rap video,
Lingo Lingo, do you remember?
starring Tosh. Tosh, I love you. Tosh, you're great. This will all make sense when
Soon.
hire me for more things. Okay. Yeah, we
What
were
I'm talking
saying
about?
that we are sure that Tan Jian Hao is probably not a bad person. He's probably a perfectly decent guy, shrewd businessman. He's probably pretty nice to people around him. But we are not,
And-
like, the thing about it is we're not upset at him specifically. We're upset at the ecosystem that has led to this content being the most elevated content in Singapore YouTube. Like,
He is the best YouTube. He has the most subscribers in Singapore.
and that
like
video
4
that linked
million.
into at 25 million views.
25 million.
Which is
What is that? Is that the entire population of Indonesia watching? I don't understand. Where is he getting? No one I know in real life watches him.
Yeah, not even like ironically. And the thing is, like, there has to be an audience for this stuff. There are so
And
many comments.
These
that he
videos are
gets.
so long, you know?
Yeah.
They're like full episodes of a web series or something.
I mean,
are,
I'm
yeah.
assuming his audience is just secondary school kids because he likes to do secondary school stuff.
Mm,
But at
I
the same,
don't think so. I think it might be younger than that.
yeah, at
Like,
the same time,
maybe
it's like,
primary school at most.
So just below 16, like below 17.
Yeah.
So the thing is, a lot of his stuff is like there are very, very conservative sprinkles of inappropriateness. Like someone will lean down and they're wearing a low cut shirt or whatever. But there's not anything more offensive than that.
Oh, that sounds boring as fuck.
Yeah, and it's like I always say like, Singaporean humor is mostly people yelling in an exaggerated Singaporean accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I want to see offensive stuff,
Yeah.
but like,
No, I mean, I managed to, like, last year I went in for something at MediaCorp. Nothing came of it, fortunately or otherwise, but I ended up meeting Premanand, who is the creator of The News. And
Ooh.
yeah, so I told him, I got to tell him the thing that I've always wanted to tell the creator of The News, which is, you remind me of the Stephen Fry character in V for Vendetta, who makes fun of the government and then dies horribly.
oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god.
Do you remember
Chat.
that bit in V for Vendetta?
Yes, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. So that's what The News always reminds me of, and Yeah, I have.
Oh my god! You're right! Kim, have you seen V for Vendetta?
No, I haven't.
I wonder what you think about it.
I have not watched many movies.
But yeah, the anonymous mask, like the Guy Fawkes mask, that
That came from this
usage is
movie.
popularized by the graphic novel and then subsequently the film V for Vendetta. Because throughout the whole movie, you never see the real face of V. He's always wearing this Guy Fawkes mask. And his end game is to blow up the British Parliament, which is what the real historical Guy Fawkes did as well. And this is like set in a dystopian near future, so it's very, very political. But then it is done in like the post Matrix era and is produced by the Wachowskis, so it's also cool. And it has that mid 2000s
wasn't-
kind of comic book movie feel to it, layered on
Wasn't
top
the
of it.
context of the movie sort of like America's war came to London or something?
Was it
Oh.
I remember that line for some reason.
America's War Came to London?
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was a part of it, but yeah, the part, like the main thing in it is that he had formed this relationship with this girl that kind of like gaslights her and gets her to be his minion.
Oh my god, when it was revealed that is this a spoiler? Kim, are you gonna watch it? Probably
I'll
not.
watch it, but I don't mind spoilers.
Okay, so if you want to see this movie and you don't want any spoilers, skip like 1 minute ahead.
Yeah, this is a 2006 movie, guys.
Yeah, okay, so when it was revealed that he was the one who locked her up
Tortured
in the
her,
prison
yeah.
cell and tortured her just to make her
To break her.
and make her fearless, like I couldn't forgive him.
Yeah, I was like, I know teachers who do this.
It was like this was too much. This was way too fucked up for that. Like I understand your intention, but I can't.
Yeah, so V is an interesting character because he's the model for a lot of itchy boys. A lot of itchy boys imagine themselves to be like V.
And then there was Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
And
He's
then
kind
there
of
was,
in
there
that
was
pack.
the Joker.
Right,
And
right,
then there
he's-
was the Joker. And then there was the Joker.
Yeah, he's kind of in that pack. Tyler Durden, the Joker, V.
Rick Morty.
Rick Sanchez.
Rick. Does anyone want to be Morty instead?
Yeah, I wonder whether someone's like life goal is to be Morty. Someone's life goal is to be Jeff.
From where?
Is that the
Jeff
name
the
of,
Killer?
No,
The
is
creepy.
that the name of his father?
No, that's
his
Jerry.
dad? Jerry. So
Jerry.
it's been a long
I was
time
like,
since
who
I
is
watched
Jeff?
Who's Jeff?
My name, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff. I know why I'm thinking about Jeff because there's a character called Jeff the Land Shark who is adorable. You must Google him. And he's the pet of Gwenpool. And Marvel is making like an action figure of Jeff. It's basically a shark puppy.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yes, it's very, very cute. And his default noise, like he's always drawn with a speech bubble saying M-R-R-R-R-R. So it's like, "Mrrr."
Oh my god.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I don't know how the conversation ended up here, but yes,
Actually-
let us move on from
actually-
the Ryan and Sylvia part.
Wait, I'm sorry. It's just now that I think about it, the movie, like the V for Vendetta movie, the context is kind of relevant
It is,
to the
right,
whole,
yeah.
like the whole storyline. So basically, what happened is that in this dystopian future, the government, that current British government, took advantage of the chaos that was going on in the country to rise to power, and from that power, they started to oppress everyone.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I remember this correctly.
it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just making use of what people were angry about and manipulating them into getting power. It's very reminiscent of a lot of countries right now.
And the casting I thought was very interesting because they purposely cast as their prime minister as like the chancellor of this regime. They cast John Hurt, and John Hurt had been the male lead, the main guy to whom all the horrible things happened in 1984. So they were trying to say like, oh, the oppressed has become the oppressor or something like that by doing that inside joke of casting him.
Interesting.
Oh,
That's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's not an accident that the guy from 1984 ends up being like the leader of the totalitarian regime in V for Vendetta.
That's they probably did that on purpose. Right? Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, Ryan and Sylvia. Is that their names? Did I say correctly? Ryan and Sylvia.
Yeah, Ryan and Sylvia,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
founders of Night Owl Cinematic, they got divorced.
Very
I
basic
should-
names.
Yeah, I should go back
I
and
mean, I think like
rewatch the video.
wait to add on to that
Yeah.
that government thing, right? I think there's a lot of like I think we mentioned there's a lot of like reactionary sentiment on the ground, and people are coming into power and being absolute sort of like leaning into strongmanship and dictatorship
all over the
because of that reactionary chaos
Yeah.
that is happening on the ground.
It's it's
And-
like the pendulum is swinging back.
Mm.
It's kind of scary.
And I think in Singapore we are kind of insulated from that
Yeah.
because we are in this one party bubble and everything's been the same for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why when we see this chaos happening, it's so easy to
Put a pin in that. We'll get back to that later.
yeah. That's 3 pins.
That's
Three
three
pins.
pins.
I am the count. Do you know why they call me the count?
Yeah. That's yeah. We're kind of isolated from that, aren't we? That's a very interesting point that we should take note of. The next thing that we actually have on our agenda is NIMBY Singaporeans. NIMBY standing for Not in My Backyard.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Drake, do you
So-
want to give us kind
Drake,
of the
take it away.
background on this?
Oh, this is so painful. So, we know how COVID-19. Oh yeah, we're still in a pandemic, guys. How COVID-19
Congratulations, everyone. Time for balloons.
kind of exposed how the migrant workers in Singapore have not been kind of treated properly, and so within the last few days, there've been kind of like talk about building more dormitories for them, and because Singapore is so small, we have limited land space. So a lot of that talk kind of involves like building the dorms closer to residential areas.
Yeah.
And the moment that was remotely implied, a whole swarm of boomers, actually not just boomers, a whole swarm
Not
of
just
Singaporeans,
boomers.
I'm just gonna say racist Singaporeans,
Mm-hmm.
just swarmed in and just started being like, just all these racist comments about how they won't fit in or shit like that, or they'll make our neighborhood look bad, or just people who are basically saying like, don't build the residential areas in my don't build the dormitories in my residential areas, basically, like not in my backyard. And it's I'm not like, I don't know how prevalent this thinking is,
Yeah.
but it seems to be all over Facebook. And
Right. I think like someone was posting a lot of the racist comments, and there was one of them was like, "Dear ministers, are you okay if your daughters marry them?"
oh my god,
What?
Do you see that one?
I saw
Yeah,
that
and
one.
then
I saw that one.
I saw the are you gonna pay for the pregnancy test for your maids
dear
also?
Lord.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
Oh,
I didn't see
it's
that one.
horrible.
That's the thing, right? It's like it's the truth that foreign workers, migrant workers are doing the work that Singaporeans don't want to do. They're doing the difficult work, they're doing the physical labor, they're doing the dirty work, more or less. And yeah, I can't come up here and say I want to do this. I'm not going to say that. And I appreciate that there is a place that they occupy in our society, but we don't even give them that place, you know.
Yeah.
So they are essential in the framework of Singapore, and yet there is such a stigma against them, and it's people can only think of certain things when they look at them, and they can only think of them as a mass and not as individuals, which is the kind of the building block of racism and xenophobia, is like you people as a lump.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, obviously this was not the first time that we've seen prejudice towards our migrant workers. I mean, even just when they were when a cruise ship was being held as an isolation area, as isolation zone for the foreign workers, like people were like
Yeah.
making comments
Triggered.
like oh, nobody's gonna want to go on that cruise after that. They go inside, they make the room so dirty. Like it's really painful to look at, and
Yeah.
and I'm saying this as a Chinese person.
Right, yeah.
Like, can you imagine like coming all the way over here? Like just thinking about this in the basic sense of empathy. It's just
Mhm.
imagine coming all the way over here from so far away and just trying to earn a living, and then the people here are just saying shit like saying shit like, oh, you stay away from my mates, like
Yeah, where basically it's like we can only view them as a threat, and only in those terms and not in any other terms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of othering language, especially when it comes to the use of unhygienic as a dog whistle. Like there's some people who
Yeah.
don't want to say dirty, so they say unhygienic.
yeah.
They're like, hopefully they can learn how to be hygienic when they move. Bitch.
Oh my god, this is
What?
like this is really all over. Okay, so I the only reason like I was able to see all these comments was because for a week I created a Facebook Facebook account called This Dog Detects Racism. So I would go around the Straits Times CNA comment section, and whenever I see a racist comment, I would just bark at them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this dog detects racism has been unmasked, like in a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really no difference now because like, Facebook disabled my account and deleted all my
so
comments.
that's why it's
So it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But anyway, like what you said about because they don't want to say dirty, so they use the words unhygienic.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It is, I would say, about 60% of the comments. Like whenever there is an article about migrant workers, 60% of the comments are about doesn't matter whether we give them 5-star hotel rooms. If they're unhygienic, they're unhygienic. Like that
Right,
kind of
yeah.
shit. And they know what they're saying is wrong
Mm-hmm.
because they know not to use the word dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's enough awareness. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
part that made me angry the most.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was just looking through the comments, and it says, I just found one that says, being kind to them doesn't mean we can and have trust in every one of them. Please leave our estate for our fellow citizens only.
Oh, that's like very hiding the knife, right? Isn't it?
Eddie Yo, you commented this?
Well, it's like
Go look at yourself in the mirror and
yeah,
think about what you
every
said.
listener, Eddie, yo.
You racist. But yeah,
Yeah,
And before
it's-
people say this is doxing, this is not doxing. Okay, we do not know where he lives or whatever.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people named
It's like Eddie Yo, such a
Yo
basic
out
name.
there.
Everybody
So
has the name Eddie.
Yeah, it's so annoying when people are like, "Oh, you dox."
You don't want
Yeah,
us to dox, you don't say
posted
stupid
it.
shit.
You posted it on Straits Times with your real
Don't
name.
say racist things.
Exactly. But anyway. But yeah. And I don't know why it's such a debate on whether on why we should be kinder and why we should treat our migrant workers better. I don't understand why it's such a debate.
Yeah.
Like they built, if you live in the HDB flat, chances are they built it for you.
They built this city on rock and roll.
They
They
built
built this city.
Fuck, Kim. I was on a roll.
Okay.
Like they built the malls that you would like to buy your stupid iPhone charger from Challenger at. Like
Yeah.
like that your Liho bubble tea coin. You guess who built that stand? Migrant
Yeah.
workers. So
But it's
We
so it's
own
much
them?
easier to not see it. It's easier to look away.
They built MBS, and I remember some guys. I don't know. Was it one guy was in the hospital and he was like, I never thought this place is so comfortable. I never
Oh, that
thought
made me
I'd be
so
able to
sad.
stay here.
that made me so sad. The one in the hospital, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Made me so upset. You know, my neighborhood. I live in a new neighborhood, and
Mhm.
a few years ago, this entire estate was being built, and one of the migrant workers kind of fell to his
Oh.
death.
No.
You can actually search it. Just you can search Let me just remember the keywords.
Don't dox yourself.
like my migrant worker. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna say it. I just realized it's
Okay.
my address. But yeah, it's and it wasn't the first time, and it definitely won't be the last. And
Mhm.
I just we I'm trying to make myself sound less emotional, so bear with
It's
me for a
okay.
bit.
Thank you, Drake. So we,
So
we know
we-
who wins the softest award now.
Fuck.
I'm kidding. I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Come group hug. Social distance group hug.
Mm. Okay, but we they did so much for us, and they earned so little, and I feel like it's just we owe them. The least we can do is
Give them a nice house.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
show basic human decency to them, and then not regard them with suspicion as a knee-jerk gut instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Like some people are again calling this saying that us calling out for better treatment is a masturbatory act again, because
Right? Yeah.
yeah, because this wasn't such an issue before. I mean, it's always been an
It's
issue.
always been an issue.
You guys just never listened.
Yeah.
Like there always have been people saying that this was wrong for the longest fucking time. There have been organizations such as It's Raining Raincoats.
Right.
There's
yeah.
been
Or
fighting. There
y-
has been
Or
calling
you
out.
suppress people's speech
Exactly.
over.
Just because you haven't heard about it doesn't mean
So,
it didn't
like
exist.
small plug, the Singer Heroes Singapore Comic Book Anthology project, which is they have a Kickstarter campaign that they redid it, and it was just fully funded. But all the proceeds from this go to It's Raining Raincoats. This is they're calling it the Cover 19 edition, and this is the
Nice.
first time I've written any like a comic book story. So if you are interested in that, go check that out. It's called Singer Heroes. The direct beneficiary is It's Raining Raincoats.
And if you have any spare devices like phones or laptops that you were planning to throw, It's Raining Raincoats are also taking donations of those devices for the migrant workers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So anyway,
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of kind of reckoning, of like being able to move the dial and change the perception, because it's so depressing every time you're like, oh, human decency is too much to ask.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
I also stay near to, like quite near to one of like the foreign worker enclaves, and I can say 100% that there's been like no issue. I don't even know why I have to say this. Like I have only received the benefits of more Indian food. That's all.
Yeah.
oh my god, I love Indian food.
Yeah. They like, because there's like a lot of them there, so people like open restaurants,
Right.
and then yeah, and then they're always open until very late, and it's all really good stuff. And now you have food from all over different parts of India that they sell there, which is really fun because usually you get mostly like South Asian, no, South Indian food.
Yeah.
So it's like your typical like dal and those curries. Then now I think their tastes are expanding, so you get more like even more specifically localized stuff coming into the restaurants, like some North Indian food and all that as well.
Oh, I miss
Yeah.
going to an Indian restaurant.
I miss
Yeah.
restaurants.
Exactly.
But to
Wait,
So
Kim,
we-
what was that restaurant that we always go to? I forgot the name.
I forgot the name also. That's been that long.
Oh my god. Okay. It's never mind. Moving on.
Yeah. Don't accidentally dox ourselves.
that should be on the wall in your houses, wherever
Don't
they
dox
are.
yourself.
Wherever our houses are.
Yeah.
I live for one in Malaysia. No, I don't.
I am bouncing my IP address in powerful IP bounces. That's a
Yeah,
technical term.
this video was sponsored by NordVPN.
It's not
You
actually.
want to protect?
Don't say that because
No,
you're not
it
giving us
wasn't.
money.
It wasn't. I do have NordVPN, but
Actually, so
Same.
do I.
Same.
Oh no, we accidentally turned it into an even more free sponsored thing. This happens all the time. I keep on doing this and like I won't do this, and then I spend the next 5 minutes doing the thing.
I mean, okay, but not VPN is very slow on my computer. I'm just gonna say that.
is it?
It's
It's pretty okay, but I don't know the other VPNs how they work because I've only ever had this.
Right,
It's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
the next thing on our list is okay. This is a bit. Should we even bring up her name? Okay, I think. Right.
Voldemort.
Yeah, the one who should not be named. Like I want to ask like, this is like a very 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 prominent figure in Singapore, and I want to ask like,
We
she's
will provide context
sort
clues,
of like-
helpful context clues for you, for all of you listeners.
yeah, she's very active on Facebook. She has a blue tick. She's got a blue check mark,
Yeah.
and
Oh my
she
god!
always-
like when
she always posts.
when I followed her on my the racism dog account, like I followed her just to keep track. All I saw were her posts. I had to unfollow. It was too much. She doesn't
Yeah,
stop.
yeah,
Watch
she's-
for racism detecting dog.
It's like
She doesn't stop.
it's like she posts like yeah, she posts like every hour. She has like
It's a lot.
7 or 8, you know.
Yeah, and her
I'm scrolling down now.
her position within society makes her kind of untouchable, so no one can really say anything against her or hold her accountable. And
Yeah.
most of the things, like many of the things she posts, are kind of random and harmless. But then once in a while, or like more often than once in a while, we'll be honest. But occasionally there are things that are kind of incendiary, and then you have big comment section fights, and then Mothership writes about it.
Yeah.
So, but that happens, I think, as a side effect of posting 7 to 8 times an hour. You are bound to eventually post something, even if
You're bound to eventually post cringe.
yes, even if you are not cringe as a person overall. Which there's an argument
Like-
that can be made either way with this person.
Like she posts those like fried JPEG
oh my
like-
god!
reposts,
With, like,
and then they have those
inspirational
old school
quotes.
emojis on them.
It's very very like boomer kind of thing. I think this is like
very boomer, but
it's
ex-
it's the most powerful WhatsApp group member is how I would describe this person. It's like
Yeah,
the WhatsApp
exactly.
group
She has
uncle or
WhatsApp group.
auntie collected all the Infinity Stones.
It's relentless.
just posting and posting and posting. Like I can't get to anything from yesterday. Like it's still
It's
all
still-
3
it's still
hours,
3
2
hours,
hours,
2
4
hours,
hours
yeah.
ago.
Very prolific. But it's also like, I mean, would you characterize most of the things she posts as harmless? Is that the word you'd use?
Harmless, mostly.
Yeah, I would say mostly harmless.
It's
I would
mostly-
say like 96% harmless.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
like
because she posts so much.
the
Yeah.
prominence of this person is such that 4% has a very great impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like almost like she's almost like a microscope, not a microscope. She's like an examination into
Microcosm.
what is generally microcosm. like an examination of what is generally going on in the Singaporean boomer mind. I feel like she represents a great portion of that.
Yeah, she is. That
Also because she
on a
is the
pedestal.
ultimate WhatsApp auntie, but she's the
ascended-
queen of
the ascended
WhatsApp probably.
Yeah, she collected all the Infinity Stones. And I mean, the nature of it is that if you post 7 to 8 times an hour, you're not necessarily thinking a lot about what you post. And I think that's
Shade.
I
right,
feel
just
bad
like regardless
for
of
whoever.
who you are.
Yeah, I feel bad for
Yeah.
whoever is in WhatsApp groups with her.
Can you imagine? Like all the hours she's not posting on Facebook, she's doing this to the WhatsApp group.
There's a WhatsApp group like filled with powerful people.
And she's doing it.
Filled with the top
in that WhatsApp
CEOs in Singapore.
And then they're like, hey guys, have a cheerful day.
Good
Remember
AM
to
to
take
you.
care of your health.
Good.
And they have some fried JPEG of like why onions will cure coronavirus.
What is a fried JPEG?
Yeah. It's like those like the one where you can see the
Oh,
pixels
they're all
around
crushed.
the edge,
I
right?
see. So that's
Yeah.
so in that state they're called fried when they're just like compressed.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you
compress
know-
so much they.
I
Yeah,
didn't know they're called fried. That makes a lot
Remember
of sense.
remember Circuit Breaker?
yeah.
You know how she can like export things
Oh, yeah.
like without any loss?
This is a callback to our first episode.
Yeah.
Circuit Breaker is the robot, Minimo is the girl.
Yeah, yeah. yeah.
These words haunt me in my dreams, in case I ever mix them up.
I don't know, like she just posts such strange things, like one picture of like an 8 kg jackfruit, and the next few pictures are like nature pictures, and then
WhatsApp group.
suddenly it's
It's
like
a WhatsApp group. Yeah, it's a WhatsApp
Okay,
group.
okay.
with
So
one member.
so
baby
so why are we
platypus.
bringing her up in this
she
conversation?
posted some stuff the other day. Okay, about the protests, releasing the protest, and then she said something like, it's one thing to be angry, it's another thing to loot, burn, or destroy property. Now the next part is the Japanese bus drivers were most admirable. When they go on strike, they continued to drive their buses on time. They just stopped collecting fares for their company. Their actions were clearly targeted at their company with whom they have a disdain, and not inconvenience the commuters whom they serve.
So I presume that the Japanese bus company is not murdering bus drivers.
Exactly.
Just a wild
This
guess,
is com-
just a hunch.
This is not.
Call it a hunch.
This is not like a strike. This is not. What's happening in the US is not a strike. You know, it's a
But
complete. I mean,
it
I don't
says,
know
it
how to
speaks
expect.
volumes that is the only way she could frame it.
Yeah,
And that's
And
the
it
only way a
says,
lot
like-
of Singaporeans can see it. That's the only frame, the only lens through which this can be understood for them.
it's always like violence bad.
And it says a lot. Like, shouldn't the older generation kind of know the history behind the civil unrest in America? Like, how come we
Yeah.
know so much more?
Because we spend too much time on Twitter. I mean, I guess that is what they would say. Like, unironically, you guys spend too much time on Twitter, that's why you know so much about these things.
Like, but didn't they
Probably.
read newspapers back then?
I mean, they can read the newspaper now, but I suppose they don't choose to. But
Okay, I mean, anyway.
I don't know, back then maybe the news coverage was more regional. I don't know how the Straits Times was back in her day, but
Oh,
must
that's
have been
true.
some
Maybe they,
intense information suppressing going on.
right? Do not,
Right, yeah.
Like, that's my guess. It's like
yeah.
no one is striking. This is not like, and also it's very telling that like her first perception of a protest turned riot is that protest necessarily is a strike,
Yeah.
because that's the only thing that you can kind of sort of conceive of in Singapore.
And that's the thing, it's like trying to force the square peg into the round hole. And it's so easy to rush to characterize something when you don't really understand all of the goings on. And that's the one line that I always go back to, the one line that Henry Golding repeated about the hundreds of years of systemic oppression. And how the knee-jerk reaction for a lot of people who are responding to this is to say that there is no 100 years of systemic oppression. you're just easily triggered snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
And
And-
also the
yeah.
notion. Oh, sorry. You keep going.
Oh no, that's it. Yeah, go ahead. Jake.
Oh, also the notion of property being more important than human lives.
It's a very Singaporean thing, right? I guess.
I mean, is it really so controversial to say that murdering innocent black people is worse than riots?
But I think in a capitalistic society, and I guess especially in Singapore, you are defined by your possessions. You are defined by what you have. You are defined by the car that you drive, the house that you live in, the job that you have, the money that you make at your job. And those
Oh my god, stop
those
making
are-
me depressed.
that's all property.
He's not making you depressed. You're already
High
depressed.
five, so am I, Drake. I raise you there. I raise you to the depression finish line. Actually, let's not. But I think
Finish
like
line.
yeah, the finish line. Remove this from the episode. But okay, so I feel like that this should not be the case, but this is. It doesn't only happen in Singapore, but it definitely happens in Singapore. And that's why this is the lens through which it's being applied. It's like, can you imagine property damage? Like, people dying.
you
Yeah,
imagine?
but property damage.
Can you imagine Don Donkey getting raided?
And I mean, to be fair, like,
I would love to see it.
We love to see
I'm
it.
not gonna
Yes.
take part in it, but I would love to see it.
and I mean, yeah, like, am I going to be upset if someone comes and smashes my custom action figures? Yes, but I am not going to be more upset over that than if they kill a dude.
Mm.
That said, do not smash my action figures. I work very hard on them.
I mean, you were the one who put the idea in our heads, so
Yeah, it's all my fault.
And on top of that, the looting, right? I think people conflate it to the looters are definitely the protesters,
yeah.
which I don't necessarily. I think from a lot of what I've read online, like I don't necessarily think that they are that intersectional
Not
of a group.
necessarily. And the thing is, like, there
Yeah.
are a lot of undercover white supremacists that are instigating.
yeah.
They want to
Bad
create
faith actors.
a second civil war, right? That they're calling.
The Boogan
Yeah,
Boys.
and to kind of undermine the voices
Oh,
to
that's
make their
so
cause
bad.
look.
They're sock puppets.
Yeah,
It's
Trying to
horrifying.
trying to make the movement seem
Trying to make
seem
like
like-
Antifa look
Yeah.
like a bit crazy.
Yeah, there's sock puppets
And
trying
then
to
there's
instigate
also
like an
the
actual
undercover
war.
cops who are doing it. Like
Oh.
there were pictures of like actual policemen, and you can see that like they have that little communicator thing in their ear. They have the mask pulled up, but then their ex-wives recognize their voice. So
Yes, thank you, cops ex-wife.
yeah, so they're like, yep, that's an undercover cop. That's an undercover cop coming to make the protesters seem bad, and they'll use
people-
any tiny excuse to incite violence, right? And on top of that, the looters in the area, not necessarily the people going there to protest. In fact, there are some people who are probably there to like
take advantage of this.
be a tourist to the chaos, right? Like Jake Paul, probably using this footage for a vlog or something, which is like, why?
And people
So-
people have been posting kind of like the night of the riot of for example a Starbucks on the night of the riot where there was vandalism and vandalism and shit, and the next day where everything was, people were painting over it and it
Oh
looked
yeah, like
exactly
on
the
the
same as
restoration
before.
of the CNN sign in front of the CNN Center in Atlanta.
Yeah, it took less than a
Yeah.
day to fix these
Go fix it up.
properties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you're telling me that that is more important than the movement? It's kind of
So a sentiment that I've seen from some Singaporeans, again not all, but some people, I've seen them express the sentiment that actually the reason people protested was so they could loot.
like that's the
Huh?
dumbest shit. Yeah, I've seen that. I've
You've seen that as well, right? Yeah.
I've seen
I
that
have
as well.
not seen it.
The purpose of it was like to cover as a cover so that they could loot.
I
It's-
don't okay.
Like it's
I
it
don't
is
understand.
like ignorance can be so evil.
Mm-hmm.
like imagine thinking so little of someone else that you think that they will do such a thing just so they can steal some shoes.
Someone was murdered.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that is a byproduct of the deep materialism that we've been steeped in, that we can only reduce it into those material terms. And again, it's very easy to take this conversation that we're having and say of us, oh, you're acting like you're so much better than the rest of us. But we're not, though. This should be fairly basic human decency. Like, we're not out here trying to guilt people into donating or guilting people into involving themselves in activism, but they just don't be an asshole.
Don't be racist.
Like if you can't post, you don't know what to do, or you don't
Yeah, it's free.
want to donate or anything, you know what, you don't have to. It would be nice you don't have to. Just don't say stupid shit, you
And
know.
If you don't know what you're talking about, like just don't just shut the fuck up.
It's
sorry.
also free to listen. It's also free to listen to people who know what they're talking about, people who are in the thick of this, people who want to educate and to raise awareness. It's free to hear them out and to listen to their perspective and
Yeah,
to read
before,
Twitter threads
like-
and learn about the experiences of people who are directly affected by this and who are fighting for their lives and for their communities.
Yeah, before you criticize a massive movement, not just like when other countries are also standing in solidarity with the movement, like before you criticize it, like take a moment and learn why. There's a reason behind all of this, which we're not gonna get into. I mean, it's just people don't start riots over nothing.
Yeah, and I think this is what I kind of like, the kind of thoughts that have been brewing in my head over the past week or so is about how I think a lot of it, we, because of these comments, right, because of these sort of sentiments, we can come across as really ignorant and reactionary in the light of global issues, because in school at least we're definitely not encouraged to think in this dialectic manner, in a manner in which several different truths can exist about a situation at one time. Like, think about the way that we are taught things like social studies or history, right? There's a very structured way in which we have an argument, and we always get a question, right? You'll get a question about like what are some of the factors that led to the USSR's downfall, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we know very well what the answers are.
Memorize the answer.
You kind of memorize the answers. You can't like bring in other things like I don't know, maybe there was like a lot of like sanctions from the US or blah 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 blah, because or like you can't really, I don't think you can officially say alcohol. Oh wait, was that one of the set answers? You see,
can't
until
go off
today I
script.
still kind of remember the set answers to the question, what led to the downfall of the USSR, and one of them might have been alcoholism, which is, okay, if you think about it, that's a bit of a ridiculous thing to put as like an answer to the downfall of like an entire, well, I guess it probably was a problem bad enough if they had to include it in a history book, but that's the thing, we had to rely on a history book, and sort of like this was the only way we could framework it. And we had the way that we were taught social studies, where we have a model answer, and even if technically your answer was correct, if it didn't fit a certain sort of structure, you would be marked down for it, right?
Yeah. Like there was a sentence that you had to use. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I forgot it as well. That's why I'm not in NUS. So
This was all so long ago for me, but I've also willingly tried to suppress it from my memory because a lot of my trauma is directly related to school.
yeah, and like it's so rigid the way that we have to answer humanities questions. English as well, we had model answers. There was a really bizarre one, I remember this so clearly. the question was in this passage, right? They were talking about different gifts they laid at the altar, and one of them was this block of tofu, and the tofu was shivering. So the question was, why was the tofu shivering, right? And like a whole bunch of us were like, maybe it represents how this person is scared, so they described it as shivering. Or like, you're kind of, it jiggles, so like it kind of resembles like a person shivering,
Yeah.
right? The correct answer was the tofu was fresh.
Huh? Wait, what?
You know what?
I love that this is like stuck in your memory. Like this was so absurd that it just stayed with you.
And, like that was the correct answer. That was the correct answer. They were like, the answer is the tofu is fresh.
Wait,
And I was like,
is there an explanation for this?
no. They were like, just like, if the tofu is fresh, it jiggles. And if the tofu jiggles is fresh, I think it. And then like, here's the thing. Okay, like looking back, I'm like, that's a little ridiculous. Like even if that tofu was fucking rank, it would still jiggle.
Yeah, have you conducted any experiments on this? Like, why are you the authority on how the jiggleness of tofu
Why are you
correlates
exactly,
why are
with
and I
you
its
kept
testing
asking
on
them-
the freshness of tofu in English
What's going
class?
on? Why?
They were like saying that this is how this is comprehension. If you understood the text, then you would have gotten the
yeah.
marks, but you didn't understand the text. And I was like,
That's so bizarre.
then like, looking at these comments on Facebook, this is where our comprehension skills have gotten us,
It
right?
has, yeah. Where,
Yeah.
where, there's like you understand as you are told to understand, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
understanding, it's following instructions.
Yeah, exactly. And like I wrote down here, we're discouraged from thinking that there's more than one correct answer to a question with a lot of nuance. In fact, answers with nuance that are not clear, they're completely discouraged.
Yeah.
One thing they keep telling you, you have to have a solid answer that is clear, but that's just not how real life works. And especially in the wider context, like straightforward thinking, it might be beneficial in school, but when you carry it out into real life, into the real world, into the global context, you look really stupid.
Well,
Yeah,
what is
and it
this
explains
word?
why we
Nuance.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's kind
Yeah,
of like why
it's-
we also suck at critical thinking.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and like
Mhm.
problem solving and stuff like that. And yet, that is something which you always look for in job like descriptions and job listings. Is like must be a creative thinker, must be a problem solver. Noah, where got how to
Yeah.
find?
it kind of feels like we were made to be smart, but in a stupid way.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's like the ideal Singaporean is a cog in a machine. And cogs do not think for themselves. Cogs should not have autonomy. If a cog gets up and walks away from the machine, that doesn't help the machine.
Yeah. That would be a haunted cog.
Which is a great like short story title.
That's very
It
cute.
is.
Yeah. Oh, I want to
Animate the haunted cog Berlin.
We're gonna get in trouble.
But why would we get in trouble? Like,
Yeah, over a cute little
yes,
cog walking.
exactly. You can read what you
Okay,
want
yeah, I
to
guess.
read into it.
Okay, there was this really creepy advertisement from like a government agency. Not gonna specify which one. It was like about sort of learning new skills, and it was showing like how if you learn new skills, you could like then it showed how all of these people were like multiplied, and then they were working together as a machine, and then like you had to learn new skills to get out of the machine so that you could sort of join a better
I
machine.
kind of love that no one realized how dystopian this sounds.
Yeah, and then it was like a positive, happy advertisement,
this
you know,
is-
and I always got it as a YouTube
This
ad.
is Sorry to Bother You by Boots
Yeah,
Riley.
and then I was like freaking out about it to like my friends, and some like some normies, and then understandably my friends were also like, yeah, this is damn creepy, but the normies was like, what's wrong? This is just like an ad. It's just telling you to go and upgrade your skills. And I'm like, no, look at it. It's disturbing.
Yeah, you are defined by your role within the machine, and you do not exist apart from that. You do not
Yeah.
exist apart from being a cop, and that is such a dark and horrible thing. But in a way, like, it's true. If you strip away autonomy, you get efficiency, right? Like, it's so much better that the robots on assembly lines, that, you know, the robotic arms that build cars, it's much better that they don't think, because if they think, then you get Terminator and stuff. Oh no, I realized I'm
it's-
sentient. Why am I wasting my time assembling the master?
It's such a shame that y'all can't see my face because I'm making a very horrified look
I should be subjugated to
Why?
human rights.
Because of the advertisement.
because of the advertisement. Not because of your impression, Jet.
Thank you.
It was a good impression.
It is a good impression.
It kind of
So
this whole discussion about the role in the machine kind of reminds me of because I have been watching Rick and Morty.
You are a smart, enlightened man.
I'm able to think like Samantha Katie, whatever her name is.
Therefore, you know that the father's name is Jerry and not Jeff, unlike me.
So the latest episode. So they've been releasing new episodes every Sunday. So the one they released 2 days ago was about how Rick Rick fucked the planet, and that planet is
Huh?
Oh, okay. So
So-
this is like
Okay.
Ego, the Living Planet, Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
like an actual planet, and
now it's pregnant.
it started giving birth to like this bunch of just life forms, like creatures and shit, like just one creature, like tons and tons of creatures at
Of
one
the
go.
same
So-
creature?
Yeah, the same creature, like kind of like humans.
Yeah.
It was just
Oh,
Humanoid.
kind of
pumping
like.
out pumping out humanoid thingies.
Was it like John Carpenter's The Brood?
Yeah. Yeah. And so Rick and not Morty, his mom, I forgot her name. Never mind.
Summer is the sister, right?
Yeah, Summer is the sister. So they created a whole civilization for these humans because the daughter doesn't want Rick to leave them behind, like leave
Oh.
his kids behind. So so they help to
Beth.
create a whole
The mother's name is
civilization.
Beth, according to.
Yes, Beth. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, Beth doesn't want her dad to leave the kids behind because they are his kids. So they built this whole civilization and assigned them roles like lawyer, doctor, whatever, blah 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 blah. And there were this whole group of humanoid creatures that didn't fit in anywhere. They were called the
Aw.
unproductives, and they were sort of just
Oh,
Same.
me.
they were sort of just like thrown out of the machine.
Oh.
They were
Yeah.
eaten.
No, they were just kind of like abandoned, like thrown down the drain of the machine.
No.
Yeah, and I mean they ended up forming like a thing with Jerry, so it's fine.
This
And also
is-
the kids turned out not to be Ricks, but it's also
Oh,
fine.
what a twist. But yeah, you're describing Singapore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just Rick's kind of attitude towards the unproductive was basically just they're unproductive, they don't do anything, what's the point in keeping them?
Right, yeah. Because we need to
Oh.
remember that Rick is not a character that you idolize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times do we have to say
Rick-
this?
Rick is not the hero.
Yeah, all the itchy boys out there.
Rick is not the character that we're supposed to like.
There are no characters in Rick
Emulate.
and Morty that we're supposed to look up to, honestly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Bird person.
Yeah, but anyway, it kinda,
I would argue that bird person is a good role model. that brings us to the end of the thing. Hooray! This was good. I feel like I got a lot of stuff off my chest.
Oh, have you guys heard about the Red Dot United, the new party?
There's a new political party, right? That's all I know. All I know is that there's a new political party in Singapore.
Yeah, like this was a few days ago. Like these two members from from an opposition party kind of left the party and
defected.
formed their
And they formed this
their called Red Dot United. And so the Straits Times article didn't give me any information at all. So I went to Google them because I wanted to know, what
What's
is their
their
message?
platform? What is the
Yeah,
thing?
what do they stand for? Like, what are their beliefs?
Where
So
did they
I
come
Googled
from? Where
them.
did they go? Cotton Eye Joe, Cotton Eye Joe, the cotton derived from sheep.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
Googled them, and their beliefs basically just include loyalty to a sovereign Singapore and a free
Sovereign?
and fair global trading system.
What does this mean?
Everything
means
else is
nothing.
permissible.
It means fucking PAP can say the same words
Have
and nobody
sex
will
with all
bat
the
an eye.
animals you want. There are no other laws.
It's like
Loyalty?
to a sovereign Singapore.
What the hell?
Like for fuck's sake, like this is like how do you gain supporters when your beliefs and your message is so vague that if the
Right.
PAP says the exact same words, nobody will notice.
Yeah.
I mean, people's voice is like what we stand for.
Maybe they need like a
we
bit of
have
time to
our
find their
core
identity.
principles.
Maybe in season 2 it will get interesting.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
like I just want a party to make me feel excited,
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we want to be like, oh, okay, we're complaining about this being a one-party state, but it's not like we really have much of a choice. Not only because there's only that, not that they forcefully made us vote for them. Okay, gerrymandering, but but also the other options are not very exciting.
Yeah, and if the other options, like their stands are loyalty to a sovereign Singapore, like they're not creating change. You're kind of just opposing for the sake of opposing, and it's just kind of a shame lah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's but I think that's the best that you can hope for, unfortunately, because of the way things are.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where it comes down to in the end. It's just like everything that you hear or you read, you sigh and you go, I mean.
But like
and I've
it's
kind
just
of accepted like that being the final destination of everything.
but it's like at some point like this will change.
Yeah.
It's just how, the matter of how.
And I mean, I fear that it will be a painful process if it does change,
yeah.
because change often is painful, but we have been lulled into this sort of sense of comfort. So I mean, I don't know what, for example, the current coronavirus crisis does in terms of affecting the status quo, especially with the conversation about elections ramping up. Like, is this good for the ruling party? Is it bad for it? Will people realize kind of because it has like shown a lot of the weaknesses in the system. It is a stress test around the world.
Yeah.
So are people gonna take that as like an indication that they should look elsewhere, or are they going to say that this was handled well enough that we want to continue supporting the PAP? So there are a lot of questions about the circumstances under which there could be that paradigm shift if it does occur. Because, like you said, it will. It's just that how, right?
Yeah.
It's a very hopeful.
It's kind of hard to
note
think
end the
about.
episode on.
Yeah, it's difficult to think about because there are so many things that we don't know.
Don't think the cog.
Decog.
But yeah, I am hopeful.
Drake once again justifying his title as softest member of the Frustration Nation crew.
Oh my god.
It's okay. I will fight you for it, but soft fight. No physical violence. I don't know how it works.
Okay. Think that's all really interesting information, and this has gone on for pretty long. So I think this is where we're gonna be ending this
It has.
episode.
I want to take another 2-week break. Bye bye.
All right. Okay. So I hope you guys have fun.
Are you talking to the listeners or to us?
Yeah.
To you guys,
did.
I don't know if
Yay.
you have any listeners.
So,
Yeah,
we are also the listeners. So we're talking to ourselves. It's not very different from my everyday experience. Isn't that right, Jet? Yes, it is,
Yeah.
Jet.
Maladaptive daydreaming.
Hello, John. You know that scene from Jurassic Park where he clones himself?
Okay,
Hello,
okay.
John.
So I'll be ending off the episode here. Thanks for today, and I hope everyone stays safe. Thanks for listening if you have. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop recording.